And let's bring in Senior Fellow at the Center for Middle East and Global Order, Azadeh Pourzand, for more. Azadeh, thank you for joining us. You say the international response to this crisis has been delayed and insufficient. What do you think the international community should be doing?
Thank you so much for having me and covering this important issue. I believe that we are at a very historic and critical juncture. I believe that the struggles of the Iranian people against the Islamic Republic has reached a point that a regime that's always been revengeful against its dissidents, now it's at its climax of taking revenge. So I believe there is no going back to what Iran was even a few weeks ago, as repressive as it was. I think things will remain extremely intensified in terms of repressions, killings, detentions, tortures, and so on, executions. And at this point, I believe that, for example, one of the things that I think that needs to happen, an emergency meeting at the UN Security Council needs to take place as soon as possible before we see even more further deaths and executions and so on, in order to take a multilateral stance against the atrocities of this regime and also stop them. First and foremost, stop the violence before we can move on to think and reflect on what can be done in terms of helping Iranians meet their demands. And merely human rights reports and investigative reports and those kinds of efforts are not sufficient anymore. They're important, all of those statements, all of those efforts, but they're no longer sufficient.
And Trump says all options are on the table for U.S. intervention in Iran, ranging from new sanctions all the way to airstrikes. What do you think would be most beneficial for the Iranian people?
Well, I think whatever that will have that will not expand the violence is what I can tell you as a human rights researcher and defender. I believe that the Iranian people have paid a high price today as we stand, and they know that they will have to pay a higher price. However, I don't think, for example, that this nation would want a war where they will die on top of also fighting their own government. I believe that if anything has to be targeted, it has to be with a very specific aim and with a very specific timeline and in line with human rights principles. Otherwise, we will probably be talking about multiple crises at the same time.
And we've seen major protests in Iran before. So why do you say this one's unprecedented?
Well, I mean, Iran has been seeing, as you said, nationwide protests that keep coming back every few years. I think this one is unprecedented because it's very hard to document this one. But as far as we know, it's the most expansive one, as the documentation goes. It seems like it has the protests have been in every single protest of the country, and the crackdown has been quite severe. It's always been extreme in the Islamic Republic, but this time the extension of it, some even compared some of the killings to the killings of the mass executions, for example, of the 1980s. Right now, some of the numbers that we are seeing and hearing about are comparable to one of the darkest eras of the Islamic Republic in the 80s. So it is unprecedented because it seems literally like a battleground on the street, a regime against its own people.
So do you think these protests have enough momentum to lead to regime change?
I think that's a difficult question to answer. Momentum, yes. You can see also from the slogans, the determination of the people, the bravery of the people. It's a continuation of what was coming for a while, for a long time. But I think, how much the people have the ability to fight against an extremely brutal and resourceful when it comes to weaponry and brutality regime. That is something that is difficult for me to decide or to determine at this point.
Azadeh Pourzand, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.